You guys got the idea to clap after that. That was really cool. I was like, at the 9 o'clock, there's like a little awkward half clap going on. So thanks for that. Good morning. How's everyone doing? You guys look happy this morning. You look like people that just had some good Christmas food and just put a smile right on your face. Now, I'm not calling you fat, okay? So don't freak out. I'm just saying you look happy, okay? It's good to be here. My name is Gabe. I'm one of the pastors here at Canyon View, and I'm really, really happy to get to sit and talk with you guys for a little bit about the goodness of God. But before we do that, I just wanted to reiterate again, this video that we made, I think to some, to the untrained eye, maybe it looks like we're kind of saying, look how cool we are, look at all the cool stuff we did. But here's the reality, okay? This doesn't happen without you guys. And I would just ask, if you did any of those things, if you helped give away food, if you did Thanksgiving, if you've been to a campus and served in any way throughout the year, would you just put your hand up? I'd say give these guys a round of applause. Thank you guys, okay? Because here's the deal. What happens when the church decides to be the church? And we've got it so confused oftentimes in America that the church is this building and the church is, just the people who get to hang out up here and do these things, or the leaders of the ministry that are on the payroll, that's not it. That was never meant to be the way that we view church. You are the church, and when you step out and become the church, there's amazing things that happen through that. I mean, we've seen in a couple of years, 100,000 people accept the gospel and let it take root in their hearts in South Sudan because of the missions giving that we've done. I mean, it's amazing what can happen. But that's what happens when people get involved and they say, I want to be the church. And that is the church that Jesus said that the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And it's such an amazing thing to do. And I do have to say this too. I felt compelled to say this at the 9 a.m. And I really believe it. And it's a statement of faith. But I believe that for this particular church, that the greatest days of this church are still to come. I believe that God will do great things through this church, continue to do those great things. And I think that's such an awesome thing. And I also wanted to say thank you guys. If you came out to the Christmas Eve service, I thought it was such a beautiful time to worship and to sing Christmas songs, and also to hear this really amazing message with this, we had this giant prop on the stage, this house, and the way that Pastor Kirk explained it was so cool, and I think it really opened our eyes to something that we've kind of overlooked or we haven't seen it in its proper context. And there's the real truth from that we gathered was that we would make room for Jesus during this season. That we would, and actually I would say that is a continual thing, that we would continue to make room for the God of the universe that desires relationship with us, that we would continue to make room for him and say that he has a place in our hearts, he has a place in our families, he has a place in our lives. And it's such a cool thing. So this is the last Sunday of the year, last Sunday of 2015. And our intention here today at Canyon View is that we would finish strong, that we would go into the new year with great expectations, okay? And so we took a small detour over the past few weeks from our Literally Jesus series, and we talked about a not-so-Western Christmas. And I love that because we saw things from a different perspective. We talked about the family tree of Jesus, the lineage, and there were people that had no business being named of any type of value or worth because of where they had come from, and yet God chose in his divine plan to use those people to bring us a Savior, because that's how God works. He takes people from unlikely places and in unlikely circumstances, and he uses them for the glory of himself. And he uses them as part of a great narrative. And then he talked about Joseph as well. Pastor Kirk talked about Joseph and how Mary kind of gets the limelight all the time. But there was also this guy who walked in justice, and he walked in humility, who led in a really, really profound and great way. Joseph, he led his little family, and he was a man of great integrity. And I loved hearing about that, because that's something that we all aspire to be as men, especially, men who are trying to be the spiritual leader of our homes. It's really cool to hear that. And then we talked about Herod and how there was this great tragedy that happened where Herod had all the 2-year-old and under boys, he had them killed because he was trying to snuff out the Messiah, someone who would threaten his power. And we see that in the midst of that chaos, that's when Jesus was coming. That's when Jesus was here and he was being raised to be the Savior of the world. And just like in those times of chaos, he is here with us now in our world, in our time of chaos that we sit and we live in today. And we sometimes wonder, where are you, God, in this? Where are you, God, in that? But he is here, he is working, and he is moving, and he is making all things new again. And that's a really awesome thing. Today we're going to take a look at an interaction that Jesus had in an unlikely place with an unlikely person, okay? Because how do you guys know that we're creatures of habit, right? We kind of have a routine down. You know, I wake up and then I just get mad because I have to wake up, and then I get up, you know, and then like you have your routine and you don't deviate from it very often, but there's often times where interactions come in an unlikely place. I know I was a youth pastor. I actually started doing youth ministry when I was 19 years old, which was really weird, and I can't believe anyone ever let me do that, but it already happened, so it's too late now. And so I had this way of doing things where I still kind of am like this. I'm more of a ready, fire, aim kind of person, you know? And so one time, that'll catch with you guys. Just give it a sec, okay? And so I would do things before thinking about them, okay? And so I got a wild hair one day, and I text the kids in my youth ministry, and I said, okay, guys, here's what I want you to do. Open your fridge, whatever you can find, make 5 or 6 sandwiches, okay? And bring them, and then we're going to go to the park that's by the 5th Street Bridge where a lot of the homeless guys hang out early before church, and we're going to give out the sandwiches. And I realize now, like, I was probably not fit to supervise that interaction that was happening with a bunch of younger kids. But again, that already happened, so sorry. And so we go down there, and I started giving out sandwiches. And it was a really cool thing. It was a really practical, tangible, be the hands and feet of Jesus type of thing. And through that, I met a guy. His name was Donald. I remember because one of the students said, "Would you like a sandwich?" And he's like, "What kind of sandwich?" You know, I like that. And he said, it's a ham sandwich. And he's like, "Does it have cheese on it?" And he goes, "No, there's no cheese. Sorry, I'm just a kid, you know, like I just used those in my fridge." And he's like, "Nah, I'm good," you know. So I met Donald, and I started talking with him, and I said, "Hey man, have you ever thought about going to church? Because we're getting ready to go now, and I could take you in my car to church." And he's like, "No, I haven't been to church for a while." And I said, how about you come with me? And he goes, "Okay, sure." And I noticed as he was sitting in my car, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Donald in any way, but Donald had what I would call the trifecta of bad smells. It was like alcohol, BO, and pee. Like it was a bad smell. And I had like a 1988 Honda Accord, and I probably take up about 98% of that. So there was close quarters there. And I smelled that, and it was not a great smell. But I'm like, dude, I'm ready, fire, aim. We're already doing this. He's going to church with me. And so we go to church, and I begin to talk to him, you know, and we start going, and our pastor starts preaching, and he just crashed out right next to me. So he was just asleep the whole time. I think it honestly is because he was warm, and it was like, oh man, like he's comfortable, you know. So he fell asleep, and everyone's looking at me, like texting me, like, who is that guy? And I'm like, well, it's Donald, you know. But I had an unlikely interaction with this guy over several months. And I would love to tell you that, man, he and a bunch of his friends just gave their hearts to Jesus, and that it was just this revival type situation. But honestly, like we started to go down there. I started to have kids share their testimonies with these guys. I started to preach the gospel to these guys at the park on Sunday mornings before church. And after a while, they just stopped showing up. So the great revival was not there. But I do know that story, it started with a random deviation from my normal routine on a Sunday morning, and it ended in such a way that I really believe that there was some value and there was some seeds planted that I will never get to know until on this side of heaven. But I think what's interesting about this story is I bet most of you are not as weird as I am, and most of you probably think through things a little bit more than I do. But the fact is that everyone in this room has had an encounter at some point in time with somebody that was outside of your daily routine, okay? And you know what I'm talking about. You're riding in the elevator, there's awkward silence. There's kind of bad music playing in the background. And so what do? Maybe you say hello, maybe you don't. Your neighbor, you're out there raking your leaves, and your neighbor's out there raking his leaves, and you never talk to the guy. Maybe today you say hello, right? Maybe you do something out of the ordinary, or maybe you don't. Maybe you have a new coworker. Anybody ever, who's the first one to talk to the new person, And because you're used to hanging out with your little group of people in your workplace, and do you invite the other person to be a part of that, or do you not invite them to be a part of that? You have these type of choices every day. And those of you who are students, you just sit where the teacher tells you to sit. And then especially when you get to high school or middle school, you get different classes every quarter or semester, and you kind of get a new chance to sit with somebody new, do something different. And do you get to know the kid, or do you just, not? We all have these choices every day. You make thousands of choices per day. We wake up, we decide what we're going to wear. We decide if we're going to, skip the deodorant because we're good, or we're going to go ahead and put it on. You know what I mean? You make thousands of decisions a day, and you decide to do things the way you've always done them, or sometimes you choose to deviate from your normal routine. But what do we do with the opportunities that are presented to us? Because those conversations, those types of things are actually opportunities in a certain way, if you look at it that way. And what do we do with those opportunities is one question. And then the other question I have for you this morning is this: do you believe, is it possible that they have purpose in the eyes of God? Is it possible that the opportunities that we sometimes overlook have purpose in the eyes of God? We're going to take a look at where Jesus talked to somebody who really he had no business talking to, and kind of the opportunity that he took advantage of, and we're going to just gain some truth from the scripture, okay? Before we do that, will you just bow your heads and will you just pray with me? Lord, I do thank you so much for what you have done in this church and what you are doing in this church, because God, there's actually so many more stories than we could ever put on these screens. There are things happening in people's lives, and you're working miracles in people's situations. God, you're coming through, and you're being a deliverer, and you're being a provider, and you're being a healer, you're being a father and a friend to so many of us, God, and we thank you for that. But Lord, I do pray that as we open your word this morning, that you would challenge us. God, I pray that you would pull on us, God, that you would speak to your people, Lord, that God, I would just get out of the way and let you do what you need to do in the hearts and lives of your people, God. We love you. And Lord, it's in your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so John chapter 4, we're gonna hang out there. Today we're going to read a good chunk of John chapter 4, but I want to kind of set the stage for you a little bit. Before we do that, Jesus was traveling. He kind of left because the Pharisees were getting mad at him, and so he kind of thought, maybe it's time for me to move on for a little bit. He was traveling from Judea to Galilee, okay? So he was making a several mile journey, and on his way, he passed through a place called Samaria. And so that's significant because Jews and Samaritans historically do not get along. And the reason for that is Samaritans are mixed race. They're mixed. They're part Jewish and part Gentile. And everything in the Jewish culture was that you kind of separate yourself from the rest of the people, and you become, Jews just stay with Jews, right? And so because of they were mixed, half Jew and half Gentile, which is anything other than Jewish, they viewed the Samaritans as unclean. And there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of racial tension with these two groups of people, okay? And so, again, like I said, they're viewed as unclean. But in John 4:4, I'm not going to read it, but it says that Jesus had to pass through Samaria. But that's actually not what most Jews would do. When they were trying to travel from Judea to Galilee, they would take an alternate route that would be much longer, but they would go the long way around to miss Samaria altogether, because that's how serious they were about not interacting with these people. But Jesus, that when they use the word had to, that word in Greek means to be necessary, and it's oftentimes referenced when it's by divine instruction. So what basically what it's saying is Jesus was led by God to go this way. It was necessary for him that by divine instruction, he's going to pass through Samaria, okay? So it seems to be that is the case. And in John chapter 4, I'm going to pick it up in verse 7. What I want to do today is just chunk this out a little bit and keep just watching the progression of this narrative unfold, okay? And I'm going to start in verse 7. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." See, that's reinforcing that. They just need to make sure, special note, that is not usually how things work, okay? And in verse 10, Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." So Jesus has this interaction. And one thing I love about Jesus is he's very rarely does he follow social norms, okay? Very rarely does he do things in a politically correct manner and kind of follow the trends of society. Jesus kind of has a way of doing things his own way, as if he knows better, which he does. So he engages this woman. He actually initiates conversation with her. Okay, because I would say that if a Jew did happen to pass through Samaria and did need a drink of water and did happen to be there'd be a Samaritan woman there as well, most likely the social norm would be that Jew would just stand back and wait until she was done, and then he would go get his water. And they would kind of have as little interaction as possible. Because again, it says Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. That's not a culturally normal thing. And what's also interesting that I read is that custom would be that they would go at evening time to fill their jar with water. Because, it's more in the cool of the day. But this woman is doing it midday, like high noon, super hot. And I believe, as this is kind of just my own thought here, I think she's trying to avoid contact. Have you ever went shopping at Walmart at like 11 o'clock at night or something? Because have you ever been to Walmart on Sunday, right? Like if you were to go right after church, it's nuts in there. So if you wanted to beat the crowd, right, you would go at a different time than when other people are going. If you want to avoid contact with people. So I think that she might have been doing that, and as we continue in the story, you're going to see why I think that. But Jesus makes a habit of listening and responding to this woman. He's very direct, but he's also listening and then responding. And he says, if you knew the gift of God, meaning if you knew who I truly am, or if you had the connection with God, you would be asking me for something. And so now we're going to pick it up in verse 11 and see how this plays out. The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water?" I like this. "Are you greater than our father Jacob? He gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock." Jesus said to her in verse 13, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come back here to draw water." So there's another layer to this story unfolds, and you can see that there's tension between this woman and Jesus. She feels guarded against him, and she also feels the need to kind of push back and be a little bit defensive with him. Because Jesus speaks to her in a way that is not disrespectful, but also in a way that's very direct. He's very to the point, and he's saying, if you drink this water, you're going to be thirsty again, but I have something, I possess something, if you drank from it, you would never thirst again. And very practically, she's thinking very literally, she goes, "Well, why don't you give me some of that? That sounds pretty good. I don't like going to this well to get water anyway. That'd be great if I could drink some water once." And she's kind of missing what he's saying, but she also pushes back. Did you notice that? "Are you greater than our father Jacob?" because she knows that this well happens to be Jacob's well, and Jacob is, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Abraham being the father of Israel. And she's saying, hey, Jacob gave this well for us to drink. Are you greater than our father? And she's kind of saying, is what you're doing better than this, even though he's supposed to be one of the forefathers of Israel? She's pushing back because there's some tension there. She knows that Jews have a presupposition for all Samaritans that they're unclean. And she's going, well, this well's here, so what are you going to do about that? And so there's this tension, but Jesus, I like the way he rides this out a little bit more. Verse 16, let's go there. Jesus said to her, go, call your husband to come here. The woman answered him, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, this is where it gets awesome. You are right in saying I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. The woman said to him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet, which is Captain Obvious, right? Like, yeah, I think you're right. But listen to this pushback, verse 20. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship. So still, she's going, okay, I see what you're doing here. I see that God speaks to you in some way because you kind of read my mail a little bit, and that made me a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm going to recognize, yeah, God must be speaking to you, but our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship. But what's interesting is Jesus, as he's kind of getting there, he's peeling back another layer, right? He's getting deeper into kind of a relationship with this lady, and he's saying, he's very gently but firmly getting her attention. To where I would imagine her eyebrows are perked up. She's like, okay, what's going on here? And she's very much engaged in the conversation. And I think, honestly, if someone from her village had said, so what about those 5 husbands you had, and now you're living with a guy who's not your husband? She probably would have just turned around and walked away. But she keeps talking with Jesus because Jesus has earned the right to be heard, because he's already done what no Jewish man would ever do. By engaging her, by initiating a conversation with her. And now you see where this woman is living with some type of shame because her life, she did not expect it to go this way. Nobody expects that of their life when they're little girls. And yet she's here. And that's maybe why she's going to get water in the midday when she thinks nobody else is going to be around. But then you see that she's amazed and she recognizes him as a prophet, but she's still pushing back. Because culturally, you are brought up a certain way that these type of people have no dealings with us, and we have no dealings with them. It's a cultural norm. It's a standard that everyone just accepts, everyone just lives by quietly. It's an unspoken law, if you will. And she goes, I know I'm not really supposed to be doing this. So she pushes back. But listen to this. In verse 21, Jesus said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know. For salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. The woman said to him, I know that the Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. And listen to verse 26. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he. Isn't that so cool? Because at this point in the narrative, in the story of Jesus, he's not going around telling everyone who he is. His disciples, I think they kind of have a hunch. I bet Peter's not 100% convinced of that yet. Actually, you see much later in John when he says that I believe that you are the Messiah. I believe that you're the Christ. And not many people are sold on that yet. They know that there's something to Jesus, but he hasn't quite revealed that yet. But it's almost as though he can't help himself. He can't help but reveal to her because her faith, even though she's messed up, even though she's had a life that she wished she wouldn't have had, Even though she had a past that she's trying to cover up and she's trying to just stay under the radar, she knows that one day the Messiah is coming. And she's put stock in that. She's put hope in that. And Jesus can't help but reveal it to her that that's me. And not only that, but he assures her that there's a time coming when the condition of her heart is going to be more important than where she came from. I love that. I love the way that Jesus did that. And that's why Jesus came. That's a snapshot of the gospel in just this one story, is that Jesus came to make a way for all of us to get to the Father. That the condition of our heart, that we could worship anywhere. We're not bound by physical limitations. We're not bound by cultural limitations. We're not bound by our background or our social status or income level or gender or our race. It's the condition of our heart that he made a way where there used to be no way through the sacrifice of his Son. But if we can rewind, where did all this start? Because it's not like he said, "Hi, I'm the Messiah," right? Can I have a drink? It's like, no, it really started with, "Give me a drink." It started with him doing something that was socially unacceptable, that was something that most people would never do, but he went out of his way and he saw this woman and he engaged and initiated a conversation with her. And at first it was nothing but resistance. How does she go from nothing but resistance to he's revealing to her and she's explaining to him, deep within me, I have a hope that the Messiah is coming. And where he's revealing to her, where he hasn't done so very often, if at all, before then, that he is the Messiah. And the answer to that is, it took time. And it took a continual conversation that moved and moved and moved. So if you could remember one thing from today, I would say remember this. A follower of Jesus plants seed that over time produces gospel fruit. I'm going to say that again. A follower of Jesus, if that's you, then that's you, plants seed that over time will produce gospel fruit. Because you see that didn't happen right away. It was this sort of progression, and it was met with much resistance. But the persistence of Jesus outweighed the social norm and the social tension that they felt. Think about how this plays out in your life and in my life. The socially acceptable thing for Jesus to do would be to take an alternate route and to avoid contact altogether. What's interesting is if you put that in our culture, here in Western Colorado, the socially acceptable thing for us to do is to mind our own business and hang with people like us. It's socially acceptable that we eat Chick-fil-A because it's the Jesus chicken and it's delicious, I'm not going to lie. Because they're playing the K-Love instrumental music in the background. There's nothing wrong with that. But, my cell group, my Bible study, my group of friends that I meet for coffee with out in the lobby, and at work, I just kind of mind my own business. I hear people that are broken. I hear that they're hurting, and I just kind of, that stinks for them, and pull away. It's not socially acceptable. It's not normal for you to talk about your faith anymore. Because there's no absolute truth in our culture. But what would happen if we would stop and think about the myriad of interactions that we have on a daily basis? What would happen if we saw people and interacted with people the way that Jesus chose to do it? What would happen if we engage in conversations even though they were uncomfortable? Do you know someone? Do you know someone at your workplace, maybe in your family, maybe at your school that's hurting or lost or broken or confused or angry? If I ask that question to every single one of you, that's a solid yes. That's a home run. We know people that are hurting. But it's easier for us to keep our head down and go throughout our day. But what if we initiated conversation with them? What if we began to plant seed in the hearts of people of the gospel? I love this. Jesus knew that the gospel was too good not to share with this woman. He knew that the news that he came to bring, the freedom that he came to bring, and the hope that he came to bring was too good to keep to himself. He knew that it was too good. It goes against the grain of his culture, though. But he does it anyway. He doesn't care. That awkwardness, it didn't outweigh his love for this woman. And the question is, what do we do if the gospel has taken root in our heart and we have experienced the transformation that comes from a life that's new in Christ? I know I think back on my life and I'm like, I am not the person that I used to be. And by no means will I ever stand up here and pretend that I'm perfect or that I'm walking on water or anything like that. But my goodness, I'm not the person I used to be. There is something much bigger than me. There is something much greater than me at work inside of me that is making me more like Jesus. I know that it's true. And I think I'm not the only one, right? But yet, what do we do with that? Would we begin to initiate conversation with our coworker who's always complaining about something? Instead of removing ourselves from them and just shaking our head at them, what if we engage them in conversation? And what if you met resistance and you kept engaging in conversation? What if they looked at you like, would you please go away? And what if you still took time to care, took time to notice, took time to talk, to answer questions, to ask questions? What kind of fruit would you bear from that? Here's the thing I do know, is that when you plant tomato seeds, corn doesn't shoot up from the ground. So when you plant seeds that are the gospel and the hope of Christ, that's what comes up. And like I said way before, you may never see it, but that doesn't really matter. I just wonder what would happen if we would live in that sort of a way. That we would plant seed that over time, not instantaneously, very often, but over time, would produce fruit that would be work for something eternal. It would be something of kingdom value that would be expanding and moving the kingdom forward. Would you pray with me? Lord, I just feel you challenging your people, God. You're challenging me. You're challenging us. We're in this together. Lord, let us not shy away from that. Maybe we should lean into that tension. God, help us to ask ourselves, what kind of fruit are we producing with our lives? Have we gotten so stuck in hanging out with people like us and removing ourselves from the culture around us that we're missing opportunities to initiate and engage in conversation with people who you actually desire for us to do that with? Lord, would you help us? Would you open our eyes, help us to see the world the way you see the world? Help us to look through the lens of the gospel when we look at the world around us. God, I pray that you would empower us, give us the strength via the Holy Spirit to do these things, to step out and to risk ourselves. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Sort of want to end today just by this phrase, that the church would be a much different place if the church loved and saw people in a culturally ridiculous way. This church, and I would say not only this church, but the church would look a lot different if we would see people and we would love people in a way that goes against the grain of our culture. This would not be a building, and churches all across America would not be filled with people that are all of like mind, that are all filled with people who are all already in, if you know what I mean. There would be the hurting, the broken, the lost, and we would see this great myriad of people from all walks of life, and together we could take steps towards Jesus. And so practically, how does this play itself out? The first thing is you have to be introspective. You must ask yourself, you and I both must ask ourselves, and this is actually really convicting me right now, is am I producing fruit? And so I can say, yeah, well, I'm up here doing this thing, okay, but like everything I do is inside here. And I'm like, well, I'm nice to people at the grocery store. Okay, that's good. Are you, though, producing fruit? And that's a question that we must ask ourselves. And then the second thing that you would do is this, and I would say if you would do this week, I bet you guys will just have so many fun things to share if you do this. Initiate a gospel-centered conversation, even if it's awkward. Even if you get the look like, okay, I'm backing away now, Even if it's awkward, would you initiate a conversation with somebody, another soul for which Christ bled and died and was rose again on the third day to save? Would you engage and initiate a conversation with them, even if it's uncomfortable for you personally? Let's stand and worship. But here's the thing, as we're worshiping, would you be thinking, ask yourself, am I living a life that is producing gospel fruit? And I think the prayer really needs to be across the board that God would empower us to do so. Let's worship today.